Welcome back to the Armchair Podcast, episode 3. Today it's only me and Mac because Caden had to study for college because he's a big kid. So
Yeah, I could be studying too right now, but I just didn't want to.
Okay, so this week's episode is going to be a little shorter. We're kind of recording a little later than we would like to. Yeah, we can't record tomorrow. So we're kind of recording a last-minute episode so we can get it out on time. It'll be short, probably no more than like 30 to 40 minutes. So,
Yep.
yeah, short episode this week. I think we're going to start off with good old Walmart horror stories. Mac, you take it away because I know you have a couple stories you'd like to tell.
I do. They were from today. So today is Friday, April the 7th. I know that Connor will be watching this, so Connor, going through this hell with me. You know this story already pretty much, but I don't know if you know the last half of it. So today, we at Walmart were working in OGP. We were incredibly busy. Starting at like 10 o'clock, we had 20 to 30 orders go out every single hour up until 6, which is like really busy for us. But anyway, we were dispensing, and it was probably about 6. No, not 6. Like 3 o'clock when this happened. One of our associates like picked up the phone, and they were like, "Hello, Marshall Online Grocery Pickup. How can I help you?" And the lady on the other end of the phone was just incredibly angry. And she's like, "You guys left this out of my order, and I'm furious." And she was like, "Oh, okay, I'm sorry. What was it that we left out of your order?" And she was telling this, and she was just still yelling this whole time on the phone. And eventually the associate was like, "Listen, ma'am, I can't help you unless you tell me what it is that you need me to help you with." And the lady's like, "Listen, you left this out of my order. My son is coming to get it right now, and he has a gun." And so we were like, "Whoa, she just threatened you." And so, of course, the associate was like, "Okay," and hung up the phone. And she was like freaking out. So from there, we told our manager, and the manager immediately called the police. The police arrived fairly quickly. Got there. They were talking to the police about what had happened. They played over the call again, so the call could be recorded by the police as like an actual threat. And so the police just kind of waited there until this person arrived, made the call, and said, "Hey, I'm here to get this part of my order that was missing." And the police went out there and like arrested them on the spot. Like got there and arrested them because they were making threats over the phone about having a gun.
Oh my.
Police arrested them, got taken into custody. Yeah, crazy. It was just incredibly hectic tonight, and that was like the cherry on top of the cake. But another thing happened later on. This was probably about 7 o'clock, and I was dispensing. So I finished dispensing, and then after that, I was getting ready to switch to prepping, which is getting the order ready to dispense. Hence why it's called prepping. You're prepping the order. Anyway, I was prepping, and there was a lady that came to like our entrance and was like, "Hey, listen, I'm a little bit frustrated. I had 2 people say, yeah, we'll help you out, and then they just completely ignored me. I just needed this display case over here to get some BB pellets for their BB gun." I'm like, "Oh, okay, we'll help you out." So we like radioed someone over there, and then we found the person that worked in sporting goods. We're like, hey, this person needs this case open. They're like, "Oh, okay." And then as I was walking over there with the lady was like, "Oh yeah," and someone with their dog came by and it crapped all over the floor. We're like, "Oh, okay." So I go over there and we radio maintenance. We're like, "Hey, maintenance, there's someone's dog that pooped on the floor over here in sporting goods." Like, "Okay, we'll be over there in a second." So time goes by, it gets to like 20 minutes. Like as we mentioned in the previous episode or 2 episodes ago, maintenance is notoriously bad for just taking their sweet time.
This is true.
20 minutes go by and there's still nothing, and this dog poop is just on the floor. It's like wet diarrhea dog poop. It's awful. Smelled awful. And so eventually I was like, you know what? I'm sick of this. So I go over there with paper towels and I try to wipe up as much as I can with the paper towels. And then I go back into the back, past the maintenance guy, and grab the mop bucket and bring the mop bucket back, and I mop it up, and it was disgusting. Placed one of those orange cones there, took the mop bucket back. It's so frustrating. And then after that, another customer in the toys aisle was like, yeah, I'm done with my chew, I'm gonna spit it out. Instead of spitting it in a bottle or something, they like ripped it out of their lip and they flicked it on the floor, and it went all over the floor and the shelf. It was disgusting. And so I also had to clean that up because maintenance was nowhere to be found. Go back there and get the mop bucket. Go back to the aisle, mop up this spit and wipe it up with paper towels. Take the mop bucket back. It's like, I don't understand how hard it is for maintenance to do their job.
Yeah.
And I know that sounds very, very biased because I don't do their job. But it's bad when you take another 30 minutes to do the job that you were paid to do. And so, I don't know. I guess I'm just kind of venting, but that was really frustrating that they couldn't do it twice.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's my horror story that happened today.
Yeah, I honestly didn't.
We got little
what?
That works. That's great.
Huh?
Yeah, so we got little Debbie's that work though, so that's great.
Oh, nice. I mean, I don't really have like a particular Walmart horror story. I'm trying to think of one right now. I mean, so much stuff happens at the store that it's like, what's a good one? I gotta think of like a really good Walmart horror story that
Well, in the meantime, I guess we could talk about a movie that was released today. Actually, I think today or yesterday. The Mario movie. I have not watched it yet. I plan on watching it. I have heard good things about it, and I've heard bad things about it. But I personally think that it'll be great because the voice acting selection that they have is incredible.
Yeah, so
like they have Chris Pratt, and they have Jack Black, and they have what's the guy that voices Donkey Kong? It's the one guy from like The Interview, and anyway, they have that guy. That's gonna be great.
I don't know. I've so one of the things I heard about it was from Charlie, Moist Critical, in his moist meter of it. He does a spoiler-free moist meter of most movies that come out. And he said that he really enjoyed the movie, but he thinks that the people from Rotten Tomatoes must be smoking crack. I think it's the word. I think it's like the terminology he used. Because I think on Rotten Tomatoes, they gave it like a 50%. Like, they gave it a terrible rating.
What?
Yeah, they gave it a terrible rating, but I've heard nothing but good things about it other than that. So
that's awful.
I don't know. But I do think I want to go see it. Another movie I want to see, unironically, is the Five Nights at Freddy's movie, because why not?
Yes.
That looks like that movie. Mac, you look like a crazy Five Nights at Freddy's fan. Like that one, one kid who walks into school and he goes, or. He does that in school.
That was not me. I've only played one of the games, and it was the first one, but I have watched gameplay of every one of the games. I think I watched Markiplier for 1, 2, 3, 4 FNAF World, and I think Sister Location. No, I watched 8-Bit Ryan play Sister Location, and then I watched Corey Kenshin play Security Breach. So
the only reason I went to is because I've seen all of Markiplier's videos, and I watched Game Theory. I love watching Game Theory.
Yeah.
So
Game Theory is great.
So I've seen just like all of the FNAF videos because I've been watching him for nearly a decade now. I mean, close to. So I've seen all of his Five Nights at Freddy's videos. So I kind of want to see the movie just because I think it will be neat to see that kind of video game adaptation where the creator is like directly working on it, because I think that would be really cool to see, like how that turns out. The set photos have looked really neat. So, because like unlike most movies where they build like multiple little sets for each area, this all takes place on one set, to my knowledge, and they literally built a Five Nights at Freddy's pizzeria in real life, and it looks really neat. So that's a movie I am excited for it to come out, and I will definitely probably go and see it because it just looks really cool.
Yeah, I agree. There's actually a couple more movies that got, I guess, like their trailers released, or they were confirmed to be released. The number one I want to talk about is the new trailer for Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. So pumped for that movie. Like, I can honestly say that Indiana Jones is a series that hasn't had a bad movie yet. Yes, the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull was kind of meh, but it wasn't bad. It was still a good movie. And so I definitely think that Dial of Destiny will follow in its path and make it a good movie as well.
Yeah. I don't know, that's just about it for movies that have come out this week. I guess the next big topic we could talk about is how do you feel about Donald Trump's indictment?
I have some mixed feelings about it. If what he is being imprisoned for is true, then I think that he is awful. But this is going to be political, but I don't think that he did it. I think that he's just being accused of it.
Yeah. I think that if he's found guilty and has like his due process, then yeah, he needs to be in prison. But in my personal opinion, which is of course political, I think it's honestly just another ploy to stop him from running, because it's just the cold hard truth that they have tried to stop him from running in this next election.
Non-stop.
They have like been berating him. I think it's honestly funny how people on the left flip out if you make a negative comment about Biden, but they can just trash on Trump all day long.
Yeah.
Just because they have double standards, and honestly, like, I don't think we made this podcast to be political, but like, it's just stupid. I think it is honestly stupid. I think I wish, even though I'm gonna say the good old days, even though I was never alive, but I wish we were back on the good old days when it was the Democratic Republic and stuff, because they could actually agree on something and not just argue all day. Because in my personal opinion, I think that the people who are like heavy on the right side are honestly just as bad as people who are heavy on the left side, because they just, instead of doing anything to help our country prosper, they just argue all day and cannot actually get anything done. If you've ever noticed, in the past 6 to 7 years, just about nothing has been done. The biggest thing that has happened in the past 7 years was Roe v. Wade being overturned. And that was honestly kind of out of left field. That wasn't really something that I don't think many people were just expecting to happen. Like, that was really, like, just kind of something that just happened. I mean, that's like the biggest thing that's happened politically. And nothing else super, super big, I would say, has happened. There have been big things that have happened, just nothing monumental. So I just think it's stupid how we spent more time arguing back and forth and seeing who's going to do something worse than actually trying to get stuff done. Because, if you could just sit down and have a civil discussion between the two sides, maybe some good stuff would come of it. Find a place where they can agree on something, and maybe, as much as I wouldn't want to compromise what I believe in and compromise my political ideals, I would rather have it where it's somewhere in the middle than just all on one side.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
But yeah,
I think that politics is become very hostile.
Mm-hmm. I honestly think
side of the parties have become
ge-
very hostile, and
our
it's
generation.
dumb. I think that they should be more worried about keeping the U.S. Controlled, I guess,
Yeah.
like maintaining the U.S. more than having cat fights about which party is better. If you're catching what
I mean,
if you're catching my drift, yes.
it completely makes me think of I was watching the Yard podcast at work, or not watching it, just listening to it, and they were talking about Rome, Romulus and Remulus, I believe, the two brothers, who
Yeah, Romulus
fought.
and Remus.
Yeah, they fought, and they hated each other, and they wanted to rule Rome in a different way, and it really just reflects back onto what America is right now, and you notice that some of the longest countries that have ever existed, if you've ever thought about this, have not existed longer than 400 years. And we're nearly at 300 years. We're getting close to 300 years. So it's like kind of scary to think that, if we follow the same pattern, America's gonna be gone. It's gonna be a new country. I mean, I'm sure in like 100 plus years, every country is gonna be different. But I don't know. I think that we need to stop just being so wishy-washy with like what we do and stuff. I mean, I don't know. I think I think it's stupid. I mean, I don't know. I think that, of course, if he is found guilty, then yeah, sure, he should go to prison for it. But if he's not and he's cleared, then I would love to see him run again. I do think there are better candidates than Trump. I'm not, by no means do I think he's a good person. I don't. I think he's honestly not that great of a person. But in my opinion, he's one of the best candidates. He has a really good political mind. I think he's really good at it. As much as I'm not a fan of his character. I can agree with the leftist side of he's honestly just kind of a trash human being where he doesn't keep his mouth shut.
Yeah.
But he does get things done. That is one positive about him that I really enjoy. And
I agree.
I think if they could do the same thing with the president we have right now, where they could actually just look and see that, that he does have flaws instead of just praising him like he is this perfect human being who has done nothing wrong. I mean, key example, when he was supposed to talk about the Nashville shooting, that was seriously one of the most embarrassing things I've ever heard. When he started joking about ice cream instead of talking about, kids who had died.
Yes.
That was seriously one of the... and people were laughing
at it. Another thing
like
that made me
mad
about that. Another thing that made me mad about that. So I don't know if the people watching this, I assume that they have, because this is like a big ordeal. Basically what happened is a transgender student walked into, was it a church or a church school, or like just a school, or what?
We're talking about
I think it was a church. Yeah.
It was a student who it was a previous student. The person was in their 20s now.
Oh. Yeah.
They went there in 4th and 5th grade, I believe. So this means that they've had 10 plus years of apparently deciding that whatever happened at the school was terrible. I don't know. I just think it's really disgusting that they could just excuse some of the stuff that has happened. I mean,
yeah. No, I agree. But what made me frustrated was that, I personally, I own a couple guns. Yes, I would be disappointed if they took away my guns. I would be angry, actually, if they took away my guns. But I do think that what they are saying about regulating guns is very smart. Like run background checks on these people, as they do already. Make sure that they don't have any signs of mental illness. This transgender woman, man, this transgender walked into a school with an AR, or this church school with an AR, and just started shooting people.
Which
they got six victims before they, or there were multiple victims, but six of them ended up passing.
Yeah.
And then 2 police officers in the Nashville area were the ones that eventually took it out.
Yeah.
But what I was really frustrated about is instead of the government's take on what they need to do, they were like, in light of recent events about what happened with the Nashville shooting, we realized that, and instead of talking about how they need to regulate guns like it's been this whole time with school shootings. We've had so many school shootings and nothing has been changed. But instead of talking about, hey, maybe we need to fix something with gun control, they went immediately to, yes, we realize that trans people have been pushed into this sort of I'm what's the word I'm looking for? Trans people have been pushed into a I'm trying to think of the name. They've been pushed into oppression, basically.
Yeah.
And it's stupid. Like, yes, I do think that every single person should have their own right to happiness. But taking away the lives of 6 people and then blaming it on them being transgender is awful, and it should not be that way.
Yeah. I mean, like we actually in school yesterday, in my English class, my English teacher asked us all. It's the end of the year, so we haven't really done much work. She asked us all. She goes, "How do you guys feel about that?" And we all had our own opinions, and it got to me, and I said that I do personally believe, although I own quite a few guns and my father owns a lot of guns, I do believe it should be harder to buy a gun, which, for those who don't know, the gun that this person had was not registered legally. It was an illegally gotten weapon.
No.
So no matter
no,
what,
it was a ghost gun, it wasn't registered.
Yeah, no matter what, no gun control or anything that could have stopped them from getting this. But I did bring up the point, and my teacher was very against this idea, but I was like, it definitely needs to be harder to buy a gun. I was like, I do enjoy the idea of being able to own my own gun and stuff like that. But I personally don't think I should just be able to walk into a store and say I want to buy an AR-15, and then they just sell it to me, without there being a little bit of a process, because it is extremely dangerous. And then, and my teacher, she was very against that, and she goes, well, do you think there should be a registry for people who have medically prescribed drugs? And I said, there already is one. That's what medical files are. And she goes, well, no. She's like, I mean one that's like on the internet. And I was like, that's not what a gun registry would be, though. I was like, that's just the government knowing who owns a weapon. And she goes, well, I don't want another way for the government to like track me. And I said, what do you think your phone is? Like, what do you think your phone is doing? Your phone is tracking you. I was like, there's nothing you can do that'll make your phone stop tracking you. I was like, that's just a fact. Everyone knows that's true. But she was just so against the idea of there being a harder way to get a gun. Because it definitely should be harder. I don't think they should take away people's guns, but I think it should just be a little bit more difficult.
Yeah.
Because...
I agree. I don't think that taking away people's guns is going to make that better. I think it'll make it worse, because I know lots of rednecks that would just immediately start, like, revolting and kill people.
That is very
if
true.
they had to get their guns taken away.
Mm-hmm.
But I do agree with what you're saying. It should be a lot more difficult to be able to purchase a firearm. Like, there should be multiple background checks ran. Do you have a criminal history? Of course, like, that's one that's already ran. But any history of mental illness or anything like that, those should all be heavily regulated. And I do also think that they should be able to kind of regulate the amount of ammo that you're buying as well. Yes. I kind of think that it's like a little bit of a free-for-all for ammo right now. But I think that ammo should be a little bit more regulated too in that case. But I think that we need to kind of stray away more from this political topic. I think that it's kind of taken away our funniness. our funniness of our podcast.
I know.
Can't have the viewer.
It did get very
away.
political for a minute there. Well,
It did.
since we kind of wanted this to be a shorter episode since we're recording on short notice, I think we can finish out with my Walmart horror story, which I still
All right, let's hear it.
haven't completely thought of one. Let me think.
Okay, well, while you're thinking of one, I'll go over my gamer news of the week.
Okay.
I picked up a new game. Well, not a new game, actually. I'm trying to sell some of my games that I have now and this other Switch that I have, not my current Switch, but a different one that I traded for on Marketplace. But I'm still playing Breath of the Wild. I've made some more progress on Breath of the Wild. So last week I beat the one of the divine beasts, Alruta. It's like a giant mechanical elephant thing. Very cool boss. And then on the inside of Alruta, there was a like Hydro Ganon beast that you had to defeat, and he was fairly easy to beat, I think. But yeah, it was just a really cool boss fight. Like, basically the first half of his health, you could just like shoot him with an arrow or with your bow and arrow and tack down his health that way. Or if you like hit him in the eye, it would temporarily kind of stun him, so you could like run up and get a couple hits with your sword. But as soon as it hit half health, there was 4 platforms that raised out of the ground, and then he flooded the room, so you had to like jump back and forth on these platforms and do the same thing. It was a really cool boss fight. The next divine beast that I'm going to, I hope carries the same standard, because that one was really cool. Anyway, that's kind of it for gamer news, I guess.
So I've got a really short Walmart horror story. It's actually what happened today. I just thought it was really funny when it happened. So basically this woman walked up, and I work in the electronics department, which I've already said before. And the thing about electronics is there's one of two situations that happen when someone walks up. Either they're just wanting to buy something, or they're mad about something. That's basically it. And this was one of those. They were mad about it. So they had bought this phone, it hadn't been working, and then it turns out it was past the day of return. They thought it was 30 days, and it's 14 days for phone for our return policy. And they were like, well, I've read on your Walmart thing that it was 30 days. And I said, it's 14 days. I was like, it's stated on the electronics counter what the days are. I was like, I basically had to explain that it was that. And she was very mad, very lippy and rude with me. I was trying to be nice to her. And I turn around after checking her out with a new phone that actually worked. And I thought she was just walking away. And I turned to my boss, and I said out loud, I swear the next old lady who's rude to me, I'm going to throat punch him. And then I turned back around, and she's still standing there. I didn't know what to do. So I just quickly walked away. My boss,
Did she say anything?
No, when I came back, my boss was laughing.
Yeah, you're lucky to have a boss that like enjoys working with you, I guess.
Yeah, my boss is always nice to me.
My bosses are great, but like previous jobs that I've worked and like previous departments that I've worked front end, my
Margaret
bosses have not been great. Yeah, Marg.
Margaret.
Yeah, welcome to Walmart Horror Stories, where we dog on Margaret. Hopefully this never reaches her. Margaret,
Yeah.
I'm completely joking. We're cool. But yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
I mean, is that about it?
I think so. I guess we can.
Yeah. Once again, sorry for the short episode. We recorded this on really short notice because we couldn't really find a time throughout the week. So if you enjoyed this short episode, a little brief one, please consider liking and subscribing. That'd be great. If you want to stay up to date, you can turn on like the notifications or whatever. Thank you. Bye-bye.